Anonymous, a podcast about gamers and the insane fun we have at the table together. This is Anthony.
This is Kim.
This is Dan.
This is Chris.
Welcome to episode 15, our 2013 holiday shopping guide. Today we're going to go through some of our favorite games from the last, year and a half or so for a variety of categories and different types of gamers in your life. This is kind of a two-parter. The podcast, we're going to run through all the games. We've got about 50 or 60 games, but if you want more information, videos, links, etc., hit our website at boardgamersanonymous.com or Facebook, where I'll be reposting a lot of this, and you can get even more information if something sounds good and you want to pick it up. So we have gone through our reviews, we've talked to people at the store, at Myriad, and we've created a list of what we think are some of the best games that have come out in the last year or so in a variety of categories. All right, so real quick before we get started, we should talk about where you can actually get these games. If you're not an avid board gamer and don't spend all your time at Myriad or a store like it, like we do, it might not seem easy to find them because you're not going to find these games necessarily in the mall, but there are a few retailers that carry quite a few designer board games, as well as a couple online sites that you can check out.
So one of the places you first want to take a look at is Barnes & Noble. They actually have a large selection of designer board games. So usually just past the calendar section and the gift section, there's actually usually a pretty good selection of designer board games. And oftentimes when there is a sale or a clearance, you can actually find some of those games in that collection. So if you're a board gamer or if you have family members or friends who are board gamers, definitely check out Barnes & Noble. The coupons usually are usable for board games as well. And they usually have everything in stock. So whether you go online or you go in the store, it's a good time to pick up some things there as well.
And you mentioned that clearance, and sometimes their prices are like blowout discount. Like you'll be shocked as to how low you'll see like $40 and $50 games for like $12 sometimes on clearance.
Yeah, they go straight to 50% off, which is immediately online price. And if you have a card, that's 60% off. Then they go to 75% off.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go down to $2. I heard a couple of people on Board Game Geek got Lords of Waterdeep for $2 like 6 months ago.
I know, which is an outrage that they were able to sit around that long, but it's amazing.
But that's the thing too, since it's a bookstore, they don't really understand the value of the games. So if you're checking out Board Game Geek, look at the section where they talk about buying and selling and retail outlets. And once in a while, there's a notice that pops up there for Barnes & Noble, so you definitely want to check that out, especially with the holiday season coming up. It's really a good place to get those games, and especially for a gamer in your life, you can definitely go there and pick up some games, maybe pick up some RPG books, some, medieval, fantasy, sci-fi comics, graphic novels. You can put together a really nice gift that way. Another great place to pick up games, which is surprising us all these last couple of weeks, is Target. Target has a contract with Geek and Sundry. So if you've ever watched Tabletop, which is the Will Wheaton show about board games, he broadcasts a whole video of a board game, and you actually get to see step by step. So if you go down to Target, not only do you have the traditional Monopoly and Scrabble, but you have a lot of designer board games there as well, and you'll see a little sticker that says Geek and Sundry, kind of like played and approved. You'll actually find some good quality designer games there. So things like X-Wing, you'll find Munchkin, you'll find Catan, you'll find Carcassonne, and you'll find some even of the heavier set games. So it's definitely worth checking out. And once again, Target always does a sale, so it's a good chance to pick up something at a good price.
Yeah, definitely. So those are your offline sources. And, of course, if you have a friendly local game store in your area, if you're on Staten Island or the area, Myriad Games. And there are hundreds of them around the country, too. So, check Board Game Geek. There's a list there. Or, hit up Google Maps.
You can also do Meetup if you're having problems finding local game stores. Look around for some local gaming groups and see what they suggest too. That's always a good option.
Yeah, meetup.com is a great resource for your local games. And like Dan was saying, gamers are a big, fun, social group of people. You just go up onto any of those sites and just ask a question, where can I pick things up? And usually people are jumping right out to help you. So, and also Board Game Geek. Like we talked about, you can find the deals there for Barnes & Noble, but a whole bunch of stores. And obviously eBay is always a good resource too. But also back to what Anthony said, your local game store, while the prices are going to be the retail prices, you might find a game there that you won't find online because it might be sold out. So definitely check those out as well.
Yeah, plus you can get help from the owners of the store because they know what they're talking about. And online you're going to be, kind of on your own. If you're going to Barnes & Noble, you're not going to necessarily find somebody who can help you out there. You might get lucky, but if you're in a friendly local game store, presumably the person who runs the store, some of the employees there can point you to the game you're looking for.
Or even gamers. Like most game stores have tables in the back. So if you see people playing games and you're not sure about what you're picking up or you have a question about it, take the board game to the back and say, hey, has anyone ever played this? And usually you'll have people kind of spring up and help you.
Yeah.
We're always trying to add to the hobby, and we're really grateful for that.
Yeah. And then, of course, last but not least, there is online, where you're going to find pretty much anything that's in print for anything. Our two favorite sites, of course, Miniature Market and Cool Stuff Inc. Those are the two big ones.
There's also Troll and Toad. A lot of people, Amazon prices, you'll find things cheaper than you will on Amazon, but Amazon is beyond convenient. So if you're just looking to pick up one game and you're not particularly caring if you save an extra $3 or $4 over this option, or if you just want it that next day, like, for that over $25 deal, that's always a viable option too.
Yeah, the only thing about Amazon is sometimes they don't have stuff in stock, and it'll seem like they do because maybe a third party's selling it, and you won't get the free shipping, or maybe you're paying a bit more even than you should.
Yeah, if you should try to spend the time just to compare it to at least one other site, because you'll be like, oh, this is great, they have it, and then you'll see that it was $20 cheaper somewhere else.
Yeah, and I've seen people list the retail prices on Amazon higher than they actually are.
Yeah. Like, I kind of let my guide be, how badly do I want it, and versus how much I'm saving. If I'm only saving $5, if I do it the other way, but I got to wait 7 days shipping, all right, whatever. But, when you go on Cool Stuff and you see that game is $33, then you go on Amazon and it's $64.
Sure. And if you haven't picked up games online, the price difference is dramatic.
Yeah.
So if you check in with Miniature Market or you check in with Cool Stuff Inc., you should have an idea what the price is, but obviously pick it up however you need to pick it up, whether it's local, Amazon, or the massive discount dealers.
So any of these games we have on the list for you today, we're going to have a link on the website to multiples of these websites so you can check them out, along with the prices, so you can take a closer look. All right, so without further ado, our 2013 Holiday Shopping Guide.
Woohoo!
First up, fantasy games.
All right, so fantasy games are the greatest gift for your friends that are into, like, Lords of the Ring, the people that that play D&D, the people that always has, like, their character that's that elven wizard on their notebook or sketches out dwarves and such in their in their spare time when they're doodling on the phone and whatnot. So these games are definitely the ones for them. And to kick off this list, I'm going to give my favorite game, hands down, Descent 2.0. There's nothing better than doing a dungeon crawl with your friends, and Descent lets you team up with 3 others against one other person who will be the overlord. Personally, my favorite role. Trying to crush out a hero group is always a pretty good time in my book, and this game lets you do it in spades. Between a modular board, that adventure guide, the different classes and expansions coming out left and right, and those lieutenant packs on the way, you can't go wrong with Descent for any of your dungeon crawling friends. If you used to like D&D back in the day, this is the ultimate throwback for you.
Also, if you're a fan of D&D, Lords of Waterdeep would be a really good game for you. The Scoundrels of Skullport expansion came out recently. It adds new quests, new leaders, and corruption.
Which I personally love because it's like making a deal with the devil.
It's fantastic, yeah, and the game is a good cross, brings in all the D&D lore that but it's a good, solid entry-level Euro game, too.
Yeah, it's like a lot of solid fundamentals of worker placement. You get to feel like a leader of each of those factions. It's a very good game.
Especially if you heard that it wasn't heavy enough, this definitely adds a lot more weight to the game.
Yeah, without a doubt. I love... They got to do more expansions like this. You get 2 boards, 2 options. You can use one or both. I love that idea. This is like one of the best expansions I've seen in years.
Yeah. So if you know somebody who's into role-playing and wants to get into board games, this is a great place to start. If you know somebody who's into board games and you want to get them more into role-playing, also a great place to start.
Now, one other is, a lot of people, like, when you mention D&D, they're like, oh, well, I prefer Pathfinder. I'm a Pathfinder kind of guy. Well, they even got a game out for them now. Besides the classic Pathfinder, which, you need the DM and the usual, they have the Pathfinder card game. Even though I wasn't super into it, a couple of people I know like it a lot because it gives that feel of taking on a dungeon or going after an enemy. And they have those, like, chapter packs almost coming out every month or so. So the adventure keeps on going and going. Now, the thing is this. If you get this game, don't cheat. If your guy dies, your guy dies. Everyone ignores that.
That is a very important part of the game. Yes. So this is a great cross between card games, as deck builders, LCG type models, and role-playing game. It actually brings in those role-playing elements. It's not a hard hardcore role-playing game. It's not Pathfinder, if that's what you're looking for, but it brings in those elements, which I think is another great way to marry the two of those.
Absolutely.
Another great game, if you're a D&D fan, is Lost Legends. This is a new game that was recently released by Mike Elliott. So if you've ever played Seven Wonders before and you like that card drafting opportunity, this is a great game for you. You start out with a fantasy character, and you'll be fighting monsters as they come up on the board. And as you go around, you'll get a chance to kind of build your character up with weapons, with skills, magic, and abilities. And at the same time, you have to watch out what everybody else is doing, because you might be passing along the equipment that the other heroes might need to beat the villain or the monster first. Great artwork, nice boards, really good entry kind of level game too, if you want to kind of get your feet wet either in the card drafting or the D&D world. It's definitely something to check out.
So I actually read an article about the designer of Lost Legend, that how his D&D groups back in the day, they weren't all like, team friendly and happy together. Like there's good and evil together. So there was always like mistrust and everyone trying to outdo each other. And he made sure that shined through in this game. All the more reason why I want to play it, because that was like every D&D group I had when I was in high school, man. It's like, oh, you're going to be a paladin? Oh, I'm going to be a lawful evil thief.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so that definitely sounds really, really cool. And the drafting mechanic is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely want to check that out still. All right. And one last game on the fantasy category is, of course, the Game of Thrones living card game. This, we've talked about it a lot. We have a long feature review on early episode of the podcast. And then there are chapter packs coming out every month. So if you've not played the game, you can pick it up for you or a loved one or a friend. If you have played the game, or if you know somebody who does, there are dozens of chapter packs. And unless they're a hardcore tournament player, they probably don't have all of them. So those are great stocking stuffers. You can pick one of those up.
Yeah, and it's not too bad. If you pick up the base game, you're going to get 4 houses, the coins, the board, and everything else. That goes for about $40. And they also have house packs that are $30 a piece. So no matter what your friend likes, so, if they're a fan of the Starks, if they're, into the Greyjoys or the greatest house of all, Lannisters, grab one of those, and it gives a lot of great cards to add to that house, and it makes it totally changes the game around. So it's always a great pick.
We just want to kind of give you a little warning, a little heads up that there's also the HBO version, Game of Thrones, a card game, and it's not really what you should be looking at, because it's really a really basic kind of model that you don't have an opportunity to get expansions for. Look for the living card game. Really a much better value, and you'll really enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, and that's from Fantasy Flight Games.
Yeah, like the only reason to pick up the HBO one is if your friend super likes the HBO show and doesn't understand that there was books before it. Because if they see that art from the books, they're like, I don't understand. Why doesn't Cersei look right? Or, Tyrion looks different. That's not how he looks on the show. I mean, if your friend is like only into that, then yeah, go for the HBO, because you'll find that cheap. Because man, it's not a good pick.
But definitely not the same quality game.
Yeah. But if you ever want to play past it,
sure,
you got to go straight for the Fantasy Flight. There's no other option.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a good entry level price. It's a good gift price.
Or in our circle, we also like to call it the Game of Chris, because we have yet to beat him.
Winter's coming.
All right, so those are our top picks for fantasy games in 2013 for gifts. Next up, sci-fi games. Top science fiction games of 2013.
So whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, or some vast universe out there is a sci-fi board game out there for you. So leave the consoles behind, leave the PC, and check out some of these great board games. They have a lot of the qualities, the sculpts, the figures, and the lore that goes into these games. One of the first games I want to talk about is Star Trek Attack Wing. And we talked about this a little bit before, and you can hear our previous review where we did Attack Wing and X-Wing miniatures, but absolutely amazing miniatures. So if you have somebody in your family or a friend who really likes Star Trek or Star Wars and is really into the models, these are great models to pick up. You can put them on the stand, never play with them, but put them on a shelf, and they're really worth displaying. This year came out with the second wave, so you got to see Slave One, Boba Fett's ship, and also the Millennium Falcon. So really high quality sculpts, and the gameplay is great. So this is a nice game if you've never gotten into miniatures before and always wanted to take those little ships, fly them around a little bit, and see what it's like to play as part of those universes.
And best point, no painting.
Absolutely. High quality, no painting, you can't beat it. Fantasy Flight for X-Wing, and then Whiz Kids for Attack Wing.
Space Cadets Dice Duel. Now, this one we have yet to break out. But the previous Space Cadets game is awesome. It's a series of mini games, and everyone's racing to do their job while everyone else is trying to finish them, but you keep looking over to see what they're doing. The Dice Duel shortens it out where you're each just rolling from different sets of dice. So it makes the game go a little faster, it's a little easier to manage, and anywhere you go, people are raving about this game. We're still actually waiting to get our hands on a copy, but cannot wait to check this one out.
Yeah, this is definitely a game, though, you want to have somebody who's kind of overseeing it, running the whole thing. So if you're buying this for somebody in your life, hopefully they have a gaming group already, or you're buying it for a group of people, because just playing it by themselves or with people who haven't played these kind of games before, it might be a little much because of the number of things going on at once in the game.
Yeah, it's good for like about 6 or 7 players if you want to use a moderator. If you guys have a slightly smaller gaming group, you're looking for maybe something a little more along the one-on-one line, then my recommendation, War Machine High Command. It's a deck builder that has a lot of battle elements, which is not usual for deck builders. Usually it's you're neutrally going for things and trying to outbuy one another. In this game, you're aggressively attacking the cities to lock them down. The other part that I like about this game is the art is high quality, and the first expansion is coming out this December, so you can always throw that in as a stocking stuffer. And there's a lot of choices and a lot of options. It's a really fun game.
Another great two-player game that can kind of scale up to more players is Neuroshima Hex. And Z-Man Games has just released the version 2.0. It has a few more things in the box. It has more scenarios to play. It has another faction. But it's a great two-player game. If you're not sure about it, if you're not sure if it's a good fit, it's kind of this post-apocalyptic feel to it. There is an app for the iPad you can download for free just to run through it and see if it's a good fit for whoever you're thinking of for your next gift. But it is a really solid two-player game that can scale up and play 3 or 4 players as well.
So to go along with all the recent sci-fi that's out there and the great board games, there's also the classic 50s B-movie board games too, like Conquest for Planet Earth Apocalypse Edition. So with the Apocalypse Edition, you actually get additional armies to fight, you get the Navy, you get new figures, you get new alien technology. It's really a great game if you like those old B-movie villains and with the big rubber heads and, you know, those old Twilight Zone black and white or Godzilla type monsters. It's a lot of fun, it's quick, it's easy, it's a co-op, but you also can play individually. So now, unlike those co-op games where it's like, it's co-op, but I can also win. This is literally either it's A, a co-op and you're playing together, or B, you're playing individual and you're attacking each other, trying to take over Earth. A lot of fun, good game, check it out. It's from Flying Frog Games.
Awesome. So those are our top picks for sci-fi games this year on our gift list. Next up, best games for video gamers. All right, so top games for video gamers in your life.
Alright, so this holiday season, you might be wanting the Xbox One, you might want that PS4. Those things are crazy money, and there's no good games for those yet. You gotta wait a year or two. But there's a lot of great board game options.
One of those options is the BioShock Siege of Columbia. If you're a fan of the BioShock video games, this game might probably pique your interest. It's worth a shot to play. It's very interesting if you're familiar with all the characters, Booker and Elizabeth,
Comstock, Daisy Fitzroy. There's a lot of good ones in that game.
Yes, this game's great for 2 to 4 players. It's a little long, but if you know somebody who's into board games, who likes those kind of combative style games with a lot of area control, or if you just like video games and you want something challenging that's not on a TV, this might be a good one for you.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty sweet game.
And definitely fits the experience of the game. So if you want to kind of capture that video game world, this would be a great shot for you.
And a bonus point, nice little miniatures.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're tiny, but they're pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. All right, another game that's not based necessarily on a video game, but definitely evokes feelings of a video game, is Boss Monster. This one came out just this year. It was a Kickstarter, but it's become very popular. And it's very affordable, it's very quick to play, it's very easy to pick up, and it's styled after old school NES 8-bit Nintendo games. You're basically building a dungeon and trying to kill off the heroes that would, in a video game, kill those bosses.
Yeah, and I mean, I challenge anyone out there to play this game and not have some fun if you grew up in that 8-bit Nintendo era.
Yeah, this is a perfect gift if you're dating somebody or married to somebody or you have kids or parents, whoever that grew up playing old school Nintendo games, Sega games, any of that 8-bit stuff that's just side-scrolling adventure style fun.
Anyone you know that ever had the argument about the merits of Super Mario 3 versus the first Super Mario Brothers, those types of people, perfect choice of game for them too.
Yeah, the never-ending argument.
All right, so one other thing is you'll notice in any video game you bought in the last 2 years, zombies. Zombies are in every video game now. Well, now you get to have board games that have zombies everywhere, like Zombicide.
Zombicide is very much like a video game. It's basically a co-op. You're trying to defeat zombies on this giant board. It's a modular board. You lay it out, and you're trying to defeat various situations. There are, I don't know how many expansions there are now, 3, I believe. But this game originally kickstarted, but it's been just on a roll in the last year or so.
And it seems like, what, 100 different zombies at least?
Dozens and dozens of minis come in that box.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you want that kind of experience when you're playing a video game of being, like, swarmed by hordes and hordes. Do yourself a favor. Go on Board Game Geek. Look at some of these pictures. Even if you're just a video game player, you're going to be amazed at all these miniatures out on the board and all the different characters. It really is a sight to see. And it plays very simple. So if you're not a traditional board gamer, you can definitely get into this game and get a lot of fun out of it.
Yeah, like, as soon as I saw it being played, like, Left 4 Dead and Dead Island popped into my head, because the characters, what I like in this game is not everyone's the same person. Everyone has different stats. And it even has, like, a level up mechanic where each person is going to progress differently than the others, too. So it's stylized and a lot of fun. It has a huge replayability factor, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be very quick and easy, or it can be very long and very arduous, depending on how hard you set the difficulty, which is pretty cool, just like a video game.
Now, one other choice is, SimCity. I want to still get that game for the computer. I just want to wait until it's actually finished and totally patched out. So I'll probably get it in 2040. But in the meanwhile, we got Suburbia, which is an even better option.
Suburbia is basically it's a tile laying game. You can build your own city, and you're going to be putting down all sorts of stuff like airports and manufacturing plants and restaurants and residences and schools and you name it. Basically, anything that would be in a city, it's there. Every tile has some effect on the scoring, and then you build out your city till the end of the game and see who has the most population.
Yeah, I mean, just like SimCity, you're building schools, airports, seaports, residential, commercial, industrial. A lot of fun, massive replayability, and even better, Suburbia Inc. is supposed to be coming out towards end of November, early December, and if they don't have it out by then, I am going to lose my mind. This thing can't be pushed back anymore. Put it out!
Yeah, that's going to come in a bag, so it's actually probably pretty good to stuff in a stocking.
Oh, yeah.
If you know somebody already has Suburbia.
By the way, that's a subtle hint, Kim.
Hint. All right, so one more game on our list for this category is Arkham Origins, the HeroClix set. And really, HeroClix in general is great for any video game player, especially if they like those kind of strategy RTS-style games like Disgaea.
Yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics, La Plusiel Tactics, basically anything by NIS, and a few of those other turn-based games. I only got into it recently, but I noticed that it really does give you that ultimate feeling of like the standard turn-based strategy games, like a lot of things on the DS, like Advance Wars and the other ones. The HeroClix is a lot of fun. Arkham Origin sculpts are amazing. Even if you are not into HeroClix, if you know somebody that loves the most recent Batman game, these sculpts are amazing, and you can just pick up a couple of boosters and surprise them with some random figures.
Yeah, they look awesome. All right, so that's all our stuff for video game lovers, and really anything on this list would be great for anybody who loves to play video games. But these are kind of some of the more thematic of the list. So, top stocking stuffer games of 2013. All right, so these are the little games you can stuff in a stocking, something affordable, $10, $15, $20, fits nice and easily in there. You can wrap it up or hand it out to somebody for a Secret Santa. These are very accessible, quick, easy to play games, and some of our favorites at the table recently. So probably one of my favorites at the top of the list is Dungeon Roll, which we reviewed a couple episodes ago. So it's a very simple dice game. If you've played Zombie Dice, Martian Dice, any of those kind of games, it's basically that kind of game, except with a cool extra level up mechanic and experience points that will affect the scoring. I believe it's $20, and you can basically play in about 15 minutes, and it plays more than 2 players, which is awesome. So it's a perfect game for, if you like to play games and you're trying to get people in your family into it, or if, you have a teenager or a younger child that you want to get into board games or just quick dice games, it's a great one.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, it's only about like 10 to 15 minutes per player. So, I mean, you can have 3 or 4 people shoot out a couple of rounds in this in like about an hour or two. One of the other best parts is they recently released a hero upgrade pack where there's additional heroes. So if they have fun with this, there's always a little something else you can add on that's dirt cheap. And the best part, it comes in that little cardboard chest. So it has a little nice aesthetic to it too. Now, one thing you can't go wrong with is, if you know anyone that plays Magic, booster packs. They can have every card in the world. Booster packs give them stuff to trade.
Yep, and they have a pretty cool looking holiday gift box this year too.
Yeah, the holiday packs just came out. They will probably be moving pretty fast. So if you're thinking about getting somebody one of those, just go out and do it. Because once those things blow out, you're not going to see them again for this set.
Yeah, and you can find Magic cards anywhere. They're at Barnes & Noble, they're at Target, they're at pretty much any department store. They're online, so it's big stuff. And the new set's pretty good.
Theros is definitely one of the coolest things in a long time in that game. It's interesting enough that it's getting me back into it.
Yeah.
Another great game, especially for stocking stuffers, is Love Letter. So why not show a little love to your friends and family and pick up this really quick, easy micro card game that's just blowing up everywhere. I don't think there's a game store that doesn't have multiple copies of this somewhere out, and everyone's playing it. So small deck of cards, anyone can play it, really fun and simple, and you get this really nice love letter pouch, this little kind of silky satin kind of pouch. Or you could pick up the Japanese version, which comes in a little larger box, but it has a different art style to it as well. So pick up one, pick up both. It's both a lot of fun.
I would say if you pick up the one with the pouch, actually take it out of the plastic box. If you put it in the stocking stuffer, it's a much cooler presentation for someone to open up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's, what, under $10 you can...
I think it's $12 retail, but you can get it online for $9.
Yeah.
Another game that's really popular lately, I've seen it out a lot, is Hanabi. And this actually won the Spiel des Jahres in Germany, which is the big annual board game award. People are calling it basically the entry-level co-op game. So if you're trying to get people into that style of co-op where you're actually playing against a game, this is a great entry level for that. It's very unique from other card games, so it's not going to be like what you expect because you're never actually looking at your own cards. But it is the kind of game that you can have a lot of fun with if you're not being in a super serious group, or if you're at a party, or you're just trying to play something real quick. So if you know people who like various kinds of card games and are looking for something new, it's a great game for them.
Another great game that came out this year is called The Duke. The Duke is a really interesting 2-player game. It has a lot of elements to chess and some interesting kind of deck building elements. So the game starts, you have your king and you have your 2 pawns that are set out, and you're able to either move your piece, and when you move your piece, the template for the movement's actually on the piece itself, which is tremendous. And then once your piece moves, it flips, and then there's a second set of movements that piece can move. Or you can go to your bag and pull out a tile to place somewhere adjacent to your other pieces. This is a lot of fun, really quick, really simple to play, and it definitely scratches that abstract strategy itch.
Yeah, and the game itself is a little big, maybe it won't fit quite in the stocking, but they have these great expansion packs that come in these little baggies that are thematic to literature. So there's the Three Musketeers pack, there's the Arthurian Legends pack, there's the Robert E. Howard pack with Conan. So these are really great ways to expand the game. And honestly, this is a great game for anybody who likes board games, but maybe plays things, a little more classic games like chess, likes that strategy element, the one-on-one, and especially if they're literature buffs, because you can get these expansions and really grow how the game plays.
And if your friends are a bit creative and they like this game, those blank ones that let you create your own tiles are the best.
The blank tiles are fantastic, and there are expansions to buy extra blank tiles, which is very cool.
Yeah, I'll start playing this game as soon as you make me in it.
Yeah, the damn tile.
I like it.
For everyone who is familiar with the Ascension sets, they now have the Ascension Apprentice Edition. It's a 2-player game. Works the same way as a regular Ascension. The only difference I would have to say is the artwork, which actually I think they improved it. A lot of people have been saying that it's worse than the original Ascension, but I like how it has that dark feel to it, because you're just the whole point of the game is you're just fighting these demons, basically these monsters. So this is a really good game to get for people who are into the deck builders. If you want your girlfriend to get into it, I particularly recommend this because this is a really good easy break-in game.
Yeah, and I mean, even if your friends are into Magic, this is something that can give them a little bit of that Magic itch because it kind of appeals to that drafting mechanic, and it gives them like a little something else with that same fantasy element. It might be something to finally break the hold that Wizards will have on them.
Yeah, definitely. And it's great because the big full expansion or big full box for Ascension is like $40, and this is what, 10?
Yeah.
So it's very accessible. When just like the rest of these stocking stuffer games, they're great, they're affordable, they're easy and quick, and they're a perfect game to pull out Christmas morning and to share with everybody. All right, so top games for kids and teens in 2013. So these are games that we feel are accessible for adults, but as well children, teenagers, you know, your younger family members who maybe are either don't have the patience for some of these longer, bigger games or just aren't quite ready to play them yet. But not necessarily kids games either, because we know that adults, especially parents, maybe get a little tired of playing Chutes and Ladders and Monopoly and the Game of Life over and over again. So these are some alternatives to those to put under the tree this year. All right, so first on that list is Castellan. It's the newest Steve Jackson game. It is basically Dots, if you've ever played Dots, but everything is 3D. You have little pieces of castle. You have your own little forts that you put inside the spaces when you create them. And the game's very modular. You play it out differently every time. A couple decks of cards. Probably takes 5 minutes to teach the game. Perfect for anybody in that younger age group. Maybe doesn't have the patience for a longer game. There's also the International Edition if you want to play 4 players, if you want to play something more than 2 players. So it's a great, very easy to get, entry-level Steve Jackson game.
And if for some reason you can't find the international version of it, it's just the little castles are yellow and green. So if you picked up another red and blue pack, if you could just color those or put a sticker on those. But this is a great game for teens and kids because the pieces are really good quality plastic. The cards are pretty nice and big, large. Really not really hard to play, not hard to teach at all, and it's actually a lot of fun. They really work well together.
Relatively small box, nothing super small, so it's not super dangerous or anything. If you lose pieces, it could become a problem, so you definitely want to keep an eye on things, but otherwise it's a great game for kids.
So Forbidden Desert is a great game to bring everyone at the table together because you're going to be working as a team instead of going adversarial. What I like about it is it has a lot of moving parts. Every time those threat cards are turned over, the board's going to be shifting around, you're going to be adding sands, you're trying to match things up to see when you find the pieces of the ship. So it keeps all eyes on the table and everyone starts to get anxious and excited as you get closer and closer, but those threats just keep getting higher and higher. It's a really fun game. Me and Kim have been having a blast with this game. And like I said, when you break it out, it's a great way to make sure the kids get involved. They're going to be getting amped up. They're going to be excited when you guys actually escape and get away. I would definitely recommend that one as a top pick.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice gift game because it comes in that great tin. The pieces are nice and bold and colorful. The tiles are really good quality. So just slap a bow on this, bring this to someone's house, and be like, "Hey, let's play Forbidden Desert." It's a really great time.
Yeah, and an even smaller, even more accessible entry-level version would be Forbidden Island, which is even a little simpler. So if you have younger children, maybe, and you want to, ease them into that co-op idea, Forbidden Island's a great alternative too.
Spotted is a game that works out really well for little kids too. Every disc has 10 different images on it, and at least one of those images is on every other card. So it's basically a simple, spot it game where it's like, which of these two to go together? He'll see the B on each card. It's great with little kids because, you can always just do it where you're guessing, trying to find it, and they get to point it out. Helps a lot of those cognitive skills, and it's really fun. You'll find the little ones getting excited when they beat you to the punch, finding the match before you do.
Yeah, and it comes in many, many variants. This is a very popular game the last year since it came out, and they've reskinned it in at least a dozen different ways. So whatever your kids are into, there's probably a version of Spot It for that.
Yeah, it's like sports, animals, or anything. They haven't had a Transformers one yet, so I'm a little disappointed.
It's coming, man. It's coming.
I can only hope.
Yeah. Another one that's been really popular at our store, of all places, is it's Talk Talk Woodman, but in the U.S. you might find it as Click Clack Lumberjack. Really depends on where you're looking. In your friendly local game store, you might find either of those games, but it's basically the same thing. All right, so it's basically a stack of a bunch of different pieces of lumber. You're going to hit it with these plastic axes every time, and as the bark falls off, you gain points. If grubs fall out too, you gain extra points. If you knock off the rest of the the inner core of the tree, you lose points. So it's very simple, it's very easy, it's very quick to play, and kids will have a blast because they get to hit things with plastic axes. Of course, if they hit too hard, they're going to lose points, but they'll get the idea pretty quickly. So it's a great kids game, and it's something that adults will have fun playing too.
And this is one of these dexterity games, so we don't hear a lot about these games, but actually has a nice little complexity, a lot of fun, and we played this at Extra Life. We actually played 3 versions of this at the same time, and it's just kind of fun and wacky.
Card Line and Timeline is a good game for kids and teens also. Not only is it a really cool card game, but it's also very educational. It helps with kids learning when certain historical events occurred. With Card Line, instead of historical events or invention, you can have the kids determine whether the hippo weighs more than the lion, or if a cheetah is faster than an eagle. So it's very simple, easy to learn, and it's a really good card game for kids.
All right, so those are 5 great games for your kids and teens that will not drive you insane as a parent, but they'll actually have a lot of fun playing, even if they have those shorter attention spans. So here are some top games for non-gamers, people who do not necessarily play board games all the time and won't have that wealth of knowledge of different kinds of game mechanics right when they jump on board with these new games. These are all games we've reviewed or played recently, and we enjoy them quite a bit, and we use them to bring new people into the hobby all the time.
So one of my top picks is Masquerade. Masquerade look a little complex because it has chits that'll show a little symbology, but basically everyone has a simple role, and the more people you have, the more roles. In the beginning, people get a little confused when they see the game, but as everyone starts to guess as to who's who and pretending that there's someone else, people just start laughing, having a blast. Those little coins look really cool on the table, so people have fun taking each other's money. I mean, it's a game that, like I said, once you start this game rolling, people are going to be cracking up, and as soon as somebody wins, you're going to hear, again, again! So that's always a great thing for the holidays.
Yeah, I love this game. And it's perfect for larger groups, too, which is around the holiday time. You're always going to be around family or friends, so it's fantastic for that.
Another great game is King of Tokyo. King of Tokyo is great for a lot of reasons, especially since the basic mechanic is Yahtzee. So when you break this game out, it looks a little complex, but you say to everybody, have you ever played Yahtzee before? It's just basically rolling dice. And once they get that basic mechanic down, which is just rolling the dice 3 times, a lot of fun is happening. And you get these really nice cardboard standees of different monsters. You get some action cards and ability cards. So it's a lot of fun, very simple, very quick to play. You can play a small group of people, 3 or 4, or up to 5 or 6 people, and then there's a lot of expansions to it too.
Mice and Mystics is a very light D&D type of game. It's a very good game also to play with your kids. It's very light. It's easy to learn, and the miniatures are actually really amazing what they do with it.
Yeah, if you're a big board gamer, or you play a lot of dungeon crawlers or role-playing games, and you want to get your kids into it, or your spouse, and you're not sure they're going to be in for something like Descent, Mice and Mystics is fantastic, because it doesn't play down those elements, it doesn't dumb them down at all, but it makes everything very accessible, very fun to look at. The story is very fun. It's very, if you've ever read those Redwall books, kids read those all the time. It's that kind of theme and feel, and it's very quick and easy. The first couple chapters maybe take an hour to play. So it's perfect kind of game for non-gamers getting into dungeon crawl.
Now, Anthony, when I got Guilds of Catalan, you told me that you wanted to make sure I definitely ordered you one on my next order. What made it stand out to you?
Guilds of Catalan is fantastic because it's another one of those games that takes 5 minutes to teach somebody how to play.
Oh, yeah.
So you lay out the cards, you drop the people in the districts, you pull up the cards, maybe go through that 6-7 times, score the game, you're done. And in the process, you're teaching 3 or 4 new mechanics. So if you're trying to show somebody how to play these designer games or get them into the whole theme of it, this is a great way to do it. And the world inside the game and the artwork on the cards and everything, it's going to show somebody who's never played these kind of games what they can do in a small package that's not overwhelming.
Yeah, and once people start placing down those little miniature guys, their little agents, and playing those cards, they're going to catch on really quick. And again, this is one of those games that goes by quick. So as soon as the game over, people are going to look at that clock and go, hey, can we get another one in? It's always good for a fun night. Now, one of the last options that we have on our list is Bruges. I love this game to death. We've introduced it to a lot of people that have been non-traditional gamers. And the learning curve on this game is so simple. No matter what you do, it's the right thing. You're going to be building up your cities, getting people, building canals, going up in reputation, and it plays out very, very easy. It's very quick to teach, very quick to play. And the best thing in the world is there's tons of choices. So people are going to get really interested, really involved. They're going to want to see what they can end up drawing on their next game. It's something that people are going to come back to the table for.
Yeah, if you want to get people into Euro games and you don't want to overwhelm them right away, but you want to give them a lot of options, let them play, and have a lot of theme in the game, this is a great one. All right, so those are some of our favorite games for non-gamers. Now, next up is games you can play with your family. These are kind of games that are good for the entire family getting around the table, maybe some older kids or your parents even. Very accessible games, but also with a lot of theme and style and energy to them.
I think Garden Dice is a really good game for your families to play. It's a simple tile placement game where you basically grow vegetables. You roll dice with wooden dice, I might add, because I think that's like really cool that they actually have wooden dice for a board game. You roll dice and you pick the seeds that you want to buy with them. You place them down on the tile. You can water them. You can steal other people's seeds. You can have rabbits or birds eat them. It's pretty cool. I think that's a really good family-friendly game to play.
Yeah, I mean, the art is like really, really cutesy, and even your player markers, they're all different types of bugs, like bees and ladybugs and everything. So, I mean, you can easily see your folks like playing this game. It's nice and simple. It's, again, like the time isn't too long, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's not overwhelming at all. Yeah, another one that I really like personally, is Smash Up. And it's a game that if you look at first off, you're going to think it's a little over the top, but the game's actually pretty well constructed. You get a bunch of decks with different themes like pirates and bears and zombies and ghosts. You take two of them, you mash them together, and then you play against each other trying to take over certain locations. It's really lighthearted. It's not the kind of game you're going to play too hardcore or try to take each other out, even if it is technically combative. You got to have fun with it. You got to be silly, and that's perfect for families.
And what's really great about this game is a lot of the card games, especially the deck builders, are a little daunting at first. You open the box and you see stacks and stacks of cards, and there's these really complex strategies that you should be employing in order to win the game. Smash Up is basically you get your hand of cards, you play one action, you play one minion, and if the card happens to have text that lets you do a little bit more, that's great. But if not, you're just playing those two cards on a base, and you're done. Moves along to the next player, and it's a lot of fun, really quick. First person to 15 victory points wins. One thing, play with 4 players. There might be a tendency to play with 5 or 6 players. It bogs down a little bit. But if you stay with a small number of players, this game's a lot of fun.
And the best part, they have pirates. Arr!
Yeah.
No, bear cavalry!
In Soviet Russia, bad rides you.
All right, and the game we reviewed last week, Star Trek Catan, that's a great game for families. I would say Catan is a great game for families in general, especially if the game you're used to playing is Monopoly. It's shorter, it's less brutal, and it's easier to complete without somebody leaving the table early.
Yeah, you're not screaming in grandma's face.
Exactly, and there's a little bit of strategy to it. It's not just dice, dice, dice. But there are dice, so it's accessible for people who don't want to think too much, after a big dinner. But this one it's got Star Trek too, and Star Trek's kind of hot right now with the new movies and everything coming out. So, if people in the family like sci-fi, if they like the Star Trek movies, then this is a great one for you. If not, then pick up the normal Settlers Catan.
Another great game is Tokaido. Now, this is a action selection game where you're actually walking the path of Japan. So you literally start out one end of the board, there's a long line, and you go to the other end. Can't be simpler. So basically what this game is, you're actually going to go towards different spots on the map and take that action. So maybe you'll pick up food, maybe you'll pick up items. It's basically a little tourist adventure along the way. It's a lot of fun, incredibly simple, incredibly obvious what you're supposed to do next, and it's a beautiful board, very serene, very interesting, and a lot of fun.
And one last game I want to mention is Suro of the Sea, and this is the second version of Suro, which is a very, very basic game actually. It's a lot of fun. You're going to lay tiles, and you're going to move in this case, you're moving ships, but in the original game, you're moving stones along these paths. And eventually, you're going to start converging with other people's tiles. And if you run into them, then you're both out. If somebody creates a path that knocks you off the board, then you're out. And then the last person on the board wins. Suro of the Sea adds a couple new rules, so you can make the game a little more complex, plays a few more players. But it's the same idea, and it's a lot of fun. It's pretty easy to teach and very accessible for a lot of different types of people.
One other game I think that's great for families, Rune Wars.
Well, if you have the right family, sure.
Yeah. That's a fair recommendation. We're going to get some angry emails in about 3 months.
Can't help it, man. I just want to play. I think of you guys as family, and I just really want to play that game.
There you go.
It's true.
And nothing I want more. Christmas Day.
To destroy you all in Rune Wars.
All right, so those are all the family games that we recommend this year for everybody out there. Next on the list, games for the fighter in your family. These are all pretty much your more hardcore kind of board games for people who play board games regularly. These are more advanced rules. They take a little longer. Some of the games are more intense. If you know somebody who's a hardcore gamer, or if you are yourself and want to share that with somebody, these are the kind of games you're going to want to play, but from two different sides of the coin.
Yeah, these games are in particular very adversarial. So you are absolutely attacking a specific individual, or if it's a two-player game, it's just back and forth the entire game. Nothing really outside of that, but it's really good if you want to get down and dirty on these games. So starting off, as far as we just talked about for families, nothing personal. So this is a game where you'll be able to pick different mobsters and influence them and get actions, ability, and money in order to control the family. This game has a lot of interaction, and of course, since you're doing a lot of backstabbing and taking out a lot of the other mobsters, you should remind your family when you start, it's nothing personal.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to hearing you said you backed me on it, Grandma! Why did you turn on me?
Well, once again, for the fighters in the family. So Grandma would definitely fit.
I always said you were weak, and now I'll show it! I don't think you got
A bunch of people are going to come home from college with this game for their family just to make that happen. It's
going to be great.
Their parents are going to be like, get out.
Hey, Dad, you remember when you didn't buy me that remote control car? Yeah, I'm taking you out.
I told you it'd come for you one day, Dad.
Now, on the flip side, a game that's super adorable, where you just end up punching the ever-loving bejesus out of each other, Crossmasters Arena. Cute little chibi figures, nice little setups with these like three-dimensional trees and boxes, and you have little coins everywhere. But ultimately, the goal is to just pummel your opponent into the ground and take him out of the game. It has, at this point, 5 expansions on the market with 2 more on the way. And recently on Kickstarter, they have this Frost-style edition out. Crossmasters is going to have a lot of options for your tabletop miniature-style combat, but it has an adorable packaging to it. High-quality components.
And the next game is kind of like a miniature game, but it's played with cards. So this is a very easy, quick, probably the most accessible miniature-style game you can play, and it's Summoner Wars. Summoner Wars is 2 players playing against each other with pre-made decks of cards. You can customize them a bit, but there are rules on how you do it. There's the same number of cards all the time, so you're not going out and buying the biggest and best cards like you would in Magic. Pretty limited options, and then you make a deck out of it. So it takes only 30 minutes, so it's super accessible if you want to play it real quick with a buddy.
Also, there are many factions that you can pick from. You can either be orcs or spellcasters or vampiric people who just want to suck the blood out of everybody. There's a lot of different variety of them. It's really fun, easy, simple, but it also is a lot of luck. You basically attack with dice rolls, so don't feel too bad if you have your summoner out and you're trying to beat the other player and all you keep getting is 1s and 2s, because that does happen a lot.
Yeah, so when we did our top 10 2-player games, this was number 1. So that right there, if you're looking for a good fantasy-themed, quick, easy-to-play 2-player game, this is the one to get.
And especially since you can pick out the different factions that fit your different family members.
So on the same vein, but with a much larger number of cards to choose from, is Mage Wars.
Yeah, Mage Wars brings a little bit more of a brutal style combat, players are going to have their own like personal spell books. So it's going to be a little more of an intense one-on-one where it's instead of like light moving around and figuring out, people are going to be trying to pick out that card to respond to what you just did last. So it's a little more cerebral, a lot more options, but it's a very fun game. A lot more variety to it. There's a lot of conditions that can get hit, spell effects that can resolve in different ways, and you're going to be rolling tons of dice in this one too.
Yeah. So those are 4 like very kind of combative games if you're looking for something that's, get down and dirty and just kind of fight each other out. On the flip side are some games for the thinker, games where you're going to be trying to come up with the best strategy and build your way to victory. And probably one of our top number 1 games in this category in the last few months really is Spirium.
Yeah, Spirium is beyond fun. You're going to be working towards making your own personal engine to just mass produce your Spirium and then have your factors refine it. Keep snatching away at those victory points, building up your coins, building up your workers. With the fact that the board comes out differently every time, so what you're going to have access to in each round is going to change up. That makes it interesting. The event cards are great. And for the price, you'll find it retail for about $35. It's hard pressed to find a better buy this holiday season.
Another game we reviewed recently that I liked a lot, along these same kind of lines, it's Canterbury. And this just hit the stores online, and it's probably trickling into your local game stores. And it's a fantastic, you're building a city together, but the scoring is basically where you put your stuff and who builds the most and how you upgrade your different components. The game plays out, it looks very intimidating up front, but it's very accessible. It's actually relatively easy to learn how to play. Maybe take an hour or two the first time through, but it does demand a lot of mental attention in terms of building your strategy, and of course whoever's scoring the game will be doing a lot of work.
Yeah, it's Andrew Parks did a great job in this game, and what's pretty funny is most of the games that you see people playing in game stores, everyone's chatting, talking around. When you see 4 people around the game of Canterbury, everyone's doing that careful pondering, looking at, well, if I get this and then he does. It is a very cerebral game, but you're highly rewarded for that planning. Terra Mystica recently got re-released by Z-Man Games. The one thing I know about this game, it is heavy as hell. I just got it in the mail and have yet to open it up, but I want to play it.
It is pretty hot this year. It's I know it's selling out pretty quick. It's a reprint of a very popular old style, very cerebral, very Euro style game. So
Dan, since this is a reprint, why did you pick it up? What's so great about this game?
It has lots of components. Honestly, one of the biggest things is I was looking online. I just saw the hype going around this game, and then sure enough, 3 days after it came in our local Myriad, we saw people setting up and playing it. It is incredibly involving. You have multiple tracks, multiple races. Everyone's going for their total point score goal, but like some of the other games we talked, like Amerigo, Bruges, and others, it's all about how you plan on going about it. Very strategic, and a little bit of foresight goes a long way in that game.
So it's your typical classic Euro.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And speaking about Euros, Amerigo. So Stefan Feld brings in another great game, and if you haven't played a Euro game before, or if you want a new fresh take on it, Amerigo might be a great game for you. We just reviewed this game, and really in particular, what's really dynamic about the game is the cube tower. And Kim loves to drop the cubes, right, Kim?
Yeah, and we last time we played, even though the first player is supposed to drop the cubes, I think everyone's like, I want to do it next, and I want to do it, and then you really didn't get the chance to do it.
Yeah, I was first player the whole game, and I never get to drop the cubes.
I didn't drop the cubes either. I think Anthony dropped the cubes for most of that game.
I get to drop the cubes all the time.
Because he learned the rules, and whoever learns the rules can drop the cubes.
Yeah, that's pretty much a good rule.
And he kept score, too, so he's the backbone.
Yeah, I mean, Amerigo, without a doubt.
Cuba.
Amerigo is definitely a great game to give as a gift for somebody. It's even a great game for you to donate your Kickstarted copy to your favorite podcast or something like that. And, just saying.
just as a random example, just pulled out of thin air. I mean,
just noting, if there was a podcast that you loved and you really want to show a particular member of them that you really appreciate their insight, something like that.
Just saying.
Because I want it.
Another game that's kind of gone underneath the radar is Seasons. Now, Seasons is a great game because, first off, components are amazing. Great artwork, great graphic design, and it has a lot of interesting elements to it. So, first off, you're going to start with some card drafting. The card drafting offers a lot of different paths to victory, kind of like what goes on in Agricola. So if you can match the right cards together, you can kind of put together a great strategy. But it also has dice rolling. So you get these nice, big, colorful, chunky dice that show different actions that you can take. And when you roll the dice, once again, same thing like the drafting. You'll each get to pick a die to use that action for that round. So that's a lot of fun as well. And you'll be collecting these tokens that you can trade for resources, or you can use to build your spell cards that's in your deck. So a nice lot of complexity. It's pretty heavy. Starts off a little bit light, but can really kind of build up. Seasons is a great game, and definitely something to check out with some more of your hardcore gamers.
All right, so those are 5 bigger, heavier, longer, and much more intensive games for people in your life that you know love board games. No questions asked. All right, so one last category. This is kind of a bonus category. These are just long games. Simply put, if you know somebody who would prefer to sit in on a Saturday night and play for 8 hours of whatever your favorite game is, these are the games to get for them. I'm not going to run through all the rules. We're not going to run through all the components because that would take a whole nother podcast. But these are some of our favorites recently and some that we've seen a lot of buzz popping up around. Rune Wars, of course, the top of the list.
Oh, yeah. Rune Wars is the ultimate fantasy battle game where you're going to be going through seasons, moving units, constructing additional siege options, going for big choices, big score, trying to dominate resources. This game is super fun. I have a blast every time we play it. I have yet to actually win one, and I don't care, man. That game is so good with that modular board, just seeing the army sweeping across, and the fate deck. If you're tired of always losing to battles because of bad dice rolls, perfect example, rolling 10 dice against Anthony in Summoner Wars, not getting a single hit. That was terrible. The fate deck helps you know that at some point those guys are going to strike.
Yeah, and that's about, I think, 5 to 6 hours. First time you play, maybe you're looking at 8.
Yeah, I mean, the box recommends, like, they say it's like around 3 or 4. I think if you are all really good at the game, really strategic, really set, you could be that time. But with us, we kind of go that, no, I need this. I have to figure this out. I need to know what's best. So it takes a little longer with us, but we have a blast every time we do it.
Absolutely.
And this game is epic.
Oh, yeah.
It really has everything. It has great miniatures, has great cards, great graphic design, great artwork. And when you sit down and play and you lay out that board, you're in for an adventure. And even when we had it laying on the table for quite some time, it's just like you just go back and you just kind of wonder at what you can do next and how you can recruit the characters, what the cards are going to be. The heroes go on their own quests. So once again, it's one of these games that has so many little games inside of it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you know somebody who likes a fantasy game, for a thinker who wants to fight and has 8 hours to spare, it's Rune Wars.
Yeah, and it has a little bit of everything, but not too much of anything. Like when you look at the game, you're like, oh, that's got to be a risk game. It's not. Yeah. If you go in this game and you're thinking risk and thinking about conquering everything, you're going to lose because there's so many other elements to it, and you're obviously picking up the dragon rooms, which are such a big part of the game. It's a lot of fun, and it plays best with those 4 players.
Now, I have to disagree with you guys because I would, instead of... Whoa, wait, let me finish. See, you're talking about picking up dragon runes and fighting each other. Well, I would rather prefer to be a Cylon. That's my goal in life. That's my Christmas wish. I want to be a Cylon for Christmas. And Battlestar Galactica lets me do that. If you're a fan of the hit TV show Battlestar Galactica, this would be the game for you. We play with our really good friend Nick. He's actually introduced us to the game. Dan has got me into this to the series. I haven't finished it yet, no spoilers. But from what I've played, it's actually really fun. To me, it was almost like a resistance type of game. Everyone starts out as humans, or so what you're told, but you get the secret cards that'll tell you if you're a human or if you're a Cylon. So basically, as in the series, you're trying to find Earth. You'll come along obstacles where you can lose morale, lose food, and even lose population. And I like the fact that if you're a Cylon, you can announce it and immediately start attacking the humans.
Yeah, so I mean, for a team game that quickly dissolves into a one half of the table against a few of the others, this is top pick. And one of the best things is, let's just say somehow you play a game of Battlestar and it only takes about 2 hours or so. Pick up those expansions. That'll tack on a couple of more hours.
Yeah. As we learned during Extra Life, this is easily also a 6-hour game.
Yeah, and if you get all the expansions, you might want to consider one of those like huge Rubbermaid totes to carry around and everything, because there is more and more pieces with each and every set.
And especially, obviously this game plays as a great trader mechanic, but it's also a great co-op game, because even if the Cylons playing a part or not playing a part, trying to beat the game is really rough. So it definitely offers you a challenge that way, even if the Cylon is not really having a good time there, messing with your plans.
All right, so those are pretty much the two big, long games we've played this year. There are others that are really hot. Merchant of Venus has been really popular this year. Caverna is going to be hitting the stores any day now, and that's the newest kind of mega Euro from Uwe Rosenberg, kind of the sequel to Agricola.
Yeah, definitely a worker placement game to fall in love with.
Yeah, it's actually supposed to be longer than Agricola, and it plays more players.
I can't wait for that game. That looks awesome, and it just needs to come out. I just want to play it.
Cave Misery now.
I know, Cave Misery. It seems more appropriate. Be unhappy in your dank, dark cave.
So, and there are plenty of course, old school games that kind of fit that mold too.
And one other thing too is, for any of your friends that play RPGs, if they play D&D or Pathfinder, those are classics, they're staple games, but there's a lot of other RPGs out there. You might want to consider picking up a little something different from them. You might want to try perhaps the White Wolf world with Vampire and a few of their other games. There's now RPGs based off of Game of Thrones, which if you have a friend that just, again, recently got into that show, you can always be like, hey, I figured you might want to actually play as a Stark instead of just watching them. They have ones based on the Dragon Age video games, which is an awesome series on the consoles and computer. So again, it gives you a chance to have a fantasy element, break away from the classic D&D style game. And one of my favorites as of late, the one that we got not only as donations for Extra Life, but we got the pleasure of playing, Icons, the superhero RPG. That game is super fun, very simple system. I mean, it's kind of cool if you can get a few of your friends together around the holidays. Everyone makes a character really quick. You have fun doing adventures together. Kind of gives you like a little that old school feel, that you had back when you would get out of class and run home to roll up your new character, your new dwarven cleric, that elfin paladin you were trying to make for the last couple months. Sometimes, a little new RPG breathes a lot of fun back into that, like that old school feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you know somebody who loves role-playing games, it's a great gift.
Yeah, and the best stocking stuffer in the world, set of polyhedral dice.
All right, so that's our top list, as of Black Friday 2013. But of course, there are a lot of games still to come. Essen was just a month ago. Board Game Geek Con was just last week. And there are literally dozens of games that are going to be hitting the shelves in the next month or so before the holiday. So stay tuned, because every week we're going to have a new podcast. We're going to talk about new games. We're going to tell you what's hitting the shelves, what's out, what we want that is just now available. And hopefully give you a little more advice and some tips on some great new games that you can pick up.
Yeah, don't forget that many of the games that we talked about on this podcast have already had extensive reviews on previous podcasts. So be sure to download those podcasts and check out those extended reviews before you pick up the games.
Yeah, definitely. If you are interested in anything we talked about in this podcast, go to BoardGamersAnonymous.com. There's going to be a lengthy post there, and for each of the games we talked about, I'm going to have links so you can see what they cost, where you can get them. And if we have a review up, I'll point you to the episode so you can listen to the review and learn more about how the game plays and what we think about it more in depth.
So if you want to shoot us a line and let us know some of your top holiday picks, don't forget to follow us on Twitter.
And what would that be, Dan?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Kim. That's at BGA Podcast. And you can also look for us on Facebook.
Wait, what's that?
I'm also glad you asked that one, Kim. That is facebook.com/BoardGamersAnonymous.
All right, so that is everything for this week. I hope you have a happy holiday. This is Anthony.
This is Kim.
This is Dan.
And this is Chris. And until next time, we'll save you a seat at the table.